Okay, team. Welcome to your screencast on Chloroplast Structure. So we are diving into our study of photosynthesis, and the overall chemical equation for photosynthesis is this. So photosynthesis. We have CO2. This is unbalanced, plus H2O plus energy. And the form of energy that photosynthesis uses is light energy from the sun. And the products, so these are the reactants, and the products are glucose, C6H12O6, and molecular oxygen. If we're to look at the overall chemical equation for cellular respiration, you'll see something pretty important and I guess kind of, maybe surprising. The products of photosynthesis are the reactants of cellular respiration. So we start out with glucose and oxygen, and we combust glucose with oxygen, and we form CO2 and water, and then we release energy. So energy is a product rather than a reactant. And we store it in ATP, ultimately. And then ultimately, it's released as heat. So these are the two overall chemical equations, unbalanced chemical equations for these two reactions. And the place where photosynthesis takes place is within the chloroplast. It's this green organelle that's in plant cells, and we're going to talk about the structure of the chloroplast today. So the chloroplast is actually an organelle with 3 lipid bilayers. 3 lipid bilayers. So I've drawn each lipid bilayer as an independent line, but if we were to zoom in on every bilayer, we'd actually see, a bunch of phosphate heads and then fatty acid tails. The tails face each other, the heads face out. So we'd see that in this membrane, and then also in this membrane, and then also in this membrane. So there are 3 lipid bilayers that are part of the chloroplast or make up the chloroplast. Okay, intuitively, this first membrane on the outside is called the outer membrane. So this is the outer membrane. Inside the outer membrane, we have the inner membrane. And the membrane on the very inside is called the TMS, the thylakoid membrane system. Or I guess I should say we can call this the how do I want to denote this? Okay, the whole dark green area, so maybe I should just color code it. The whole dark green area is called the TMS, and this stands for thylakoid membrane system. The thylakoid membrane system is composed of a couple different structures. So this is all one giant connected set of membrane here, but there are a bunch of kind of little jelly bean-like structures that compose it. This is a highly folded membrane, and the reason for that is we're trying to maximize the surface area of this membrane, because it's across this membrane is where all of the reactions, or many of the reactions that power photosynthesis, are going to take place. So the more membrane that we have here, the more photosynthesis that can occur in every chloroplast. So a single little fold of this membrane system is called a thylakoid. And a whole stack of them all together, so all of this giant stack of all of the little thylakoids, which is like this right here, this is called the granum. So we have a single thylakoid, which is like this little jelly bean. The granum is all the jelly beans in a stack. The space inside of the thylakoid membrane system is called the lumen. And the connection between one granum to a next, so this kind of little port between one granum to the next, is called a lamella. I guess the last piece that we haven't talked about, this space between the inner membrane and the thylakoid membrane system, right here, this is called the stroma. There's going to be another word that you're introduced to later on that sounds a lot like the stroma, and it's called stoma. Stoma with no, or stomata with no R, and they're not the same thing. So the stroma is the space in between. It's kind of like the cytoplasm of the chloroplast. It's the space between the thylakoid membrane system and the inner membrane of the chloroplast. Okay, so that's it. Outer membrane, inner membrane, stroma, the TMS thylakoid membrane system, which is composed of a thylakoid itself, the granum, which is the stack of thylakoids, the lamella is the connections between the different grana, and the lumen, which is the space inside of the TMS. Okay, that's all.